inviting me. My name's Curt Long. John left out a few things, and I want to give you some of the circumstances of me being here in front of you. It was a Labor Day weekend, actually, and we were just at a Texas barbecue at a friend of ours' house. And everybody gets their food and scatters to tables and chairs. And at the table that we were sitting was just simply my wife, Debbie, myself, and John Sanchez. And in probably a couple of minutes, the conversation turned to God, and we were talking about quite a few things. And John actually gave me his business card, and he said, "If you really want to give your testimony to some people and think about it, and give me a call." That was the last they heard about it, and that was Labor Day weekend. And a few days later, I knew it was the right thing, and so I called him up and I said, "Okay, John, I'm going to do it." And he said, "Okay, I'll call you back with a date and time." He called me back just a little bit after that. It was probably about the middle of September when he called me. And he said, "I want you to show up on October 26th. We're going to have a little dinner, and you need to be there around 7:30 and tell your people that to come." At that time, I hung up the phone, and my hand was shaking when I hung up the phone. Because October 26th is a pretty instrumental day in my life. That actually is my 7-year anniversary tonight. That's from John anyway. All right, get started. A little nervous. I've been Lutheran all my life. Don't hold that against me. Baptized when I was a baby. Went through confirmation, confirmed, and my wife and I got married in a Lutheran church in Austin, Minnesota in 1978, 32 years ago. And life just seemed to get in the way of church, I would say, for religion. And we had our children. I have boy-girl twins that are now 24 years old. And even though my wife was a church secretary at one church, and she was a full-time secretary at that church and a part-time secretary at another Lutheran church, I never got it. I always did the absolute minimum that you could do. I raised my kids Lutheran and had them go through confirmation, and I'd go to churches literally as little as I could, so I could still say that I was Lutheran. And I literally shudder at these words right now, but I had truly become an atheist. I remember saying, this was during the decade of my 30s, I was so egotistical in myself. I remember saying, and I said this a few times, I remember even saying it to my parents, that if there was a God, he would show himself to me, and I would then work for him and be a preacher, and I'd be the greatest he'd ever had. Little did I know what was to come. On October 25th, we were in the middle of making bad choices. I wrote again my notes. I'm sorry. I got to keep this for the timeline. I'm a little bit jumping ahead. Sorry. All right. So in the year 2000, I had went to my doctor, and he had for my yearly checkup, and he told me that I had hypertension and that I needed to change my diet and get a little more exercise, and everything would be fine. Well, another year went by. Now it's 2001, and the doctor then prescribed medicine for me because, of course, I wasn't doing diet and exercise like I was supposed to do. And he wrote a prescription to lower my blood pressure. And since I knew everything at that time, including knew more than the doctors did, I simply threw away the prescription. Never took the medicine. Now, I told you that life got in the way. My wife and I, it seems like as we were growing up, or as we were raising our children, that we made a series of bad choices. And now I think back on it, and if there was a bad choice to make, we chose it. And it was just, we just weren't doing the right thing. And then October 25th hit. We were at our usual. We were party goers. We didn't miss a party. And so this was a Saturday, and the first thing, we live in Katy, and the first party was a one-year-old birthday party for some friends of mine, their daughter. And so we went to that. Great, no problem. We then left there and went to Baytown, Texas, and where the irony of all things. We visited my wife's father, who had just gotten his hip replaced, and he was learning how to walk. And the third thing both of us were looking forward to that night was a Halloween party, and we didn't want to miss that. So we got started on Interstate 10 from Baytown to Katy. It had rained during the day, and this was before they widened 10. You can imagine how usual the traffic is. This was when this whole situation of myself was actually a series of God's miracles, and not just one. I remember remarking that there was no traffic on I-10. I didn't know what was going on. It seemed like we were going to make our party on time. It was getting toward the evening. All of a sudden, I started to get a headache, and it just got worse and worse and worse, and I was driving. Pulled over to the side of I-10, changed drivers, and for some reason, I knew that I had to go to Gessner Road, the Memorial Hermann at Gessner. Again, that was God was telling us. I told my wife that. I said, just get me to Memorial Hermann. I'm sick. I've got to go in the hospital.